not going to say hi, everybody, which I usually do. I'm going to say hello, ladies and gentlemen. In protest against United Airlines, was it United? I think, yeah, United, as that it announced, was it, which airline was it? I think it was United. They will no longer say ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, come on.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there's no company more woke than United Airlines.
I know this. Yes,
Yeah.
They said that 50% of their pilot class would be women and people of color. By the way, can I pause and say something quickly?
Can I just say what this is? Dennis and Julie.
That's right.
Dennis Prager and Julie Hartman. And since we do believe in binary, I'm not going to tell you which one is which.
Yes.
It was Delta? Oh, thank you. Correct. The Delta is in a race with United.
With United.
To the bottom.
That's right.
Okay, yeah.
I do want to say something, and I actually, for the first time, want to ask directly for the viewers' help. I mean, always with Dennis and Julie, we want your comments, of course, and your responses, but I actually need some advice. I picked up a bit of a smoking habit in Europe when I was on my trip.
Cigarettes.
Cigarellos.
Okay.
See, I was
did you inhale?
I was like a Dennis Prager protege and my own protege, and I basically, anyway, I did, there's cigarellos. I didn't want to do cigarettes, and I didn't want to do cigars.
But did you inhale?
Well, see, you've tried to teach me how to do cigars for as long as you've known me, and it's never been intuitive to me. I don't know what that means. Did I inhale? Yes, I smoke went in my mouth.
Right.
And there was one time when
inhaling.
I coughed very heavily, but I don't smoke anymore. I quit, and it wasn't hard to quit because it's not even a habit. It was, it was just something I did in Europe. But 5 days ago or 6 days ago, when I noticed how hoarse my voice was, I was like, oh, I'm just not going to do this again. But it's still quite hoarse. Now, I do talk show hosting as a job. I have friends visiting, so I'm chatting all day with my friends when I come home from work. So perhaps it's just hoarseness.
No, but you haven't had this before.
No, I've never had this.
Right, exactly. No,
so help Dennis and Julie listeners.
So is there anything you could do? Yeah. I have learned a lot from listeners with their home remedies and so on.
No, it's really a blessing of our job. And see, here's what's funny. I'm about to make this thing a whole macro topic, but people who are in the public eye. This is why we're so compatible as friends, as co-hosts.
Making micro into macro topics.
My Morgan, who I brought here, and I had her on my show, she said, you and Dennis are so funny because you'll be talking about a rubber band, or you'll be talking about...
That's right.
And then you'll go, it's so interesting, people who use rubber bands, or how are rubber bands, made? Like, do people who make rubber bands, when they see that, like, we would,
do they also make paper clips?
Do they also make paper clips? And when they see people using them, do they get a kind of satisfaction of their product that they've made, or do they think it's superfluous because rubber bands and paper clips aren't a big part of our lives? That wasn't as good as our other macro topics, but you hear the point. We take something, we make it macro. So
that's our nature. We're not even complimenting
See, you're
ourselves.
Doing it right now. You're like, that's our nature.
You're right. No, that is.
Anybody who wouldn't know us would think it's highly pretentious.
That's why I said it's our nature.
No, they would think it's an act.
No, I understand that, yes.
And by the way, boy.
Or on a more charitable level, just idiosyncratic.
Yes, that's
right.
Well,
it is idiosyncratic.
It is. Oh,
yeah.
I know it is. I mean, it's so interesting. See, I want to follow back on the other macro one, but now I'm about to make another macro one.
Well, what did you want? Help from the listeners with regard to your voice?
But it's so interesting with friends, like they have to accept your natures. My friends know this is very idiosyncratic.
It's unbelievable. Hold on. I just want to finish
the cigarello
The first thought of the last 6 that we've gotten to in 6 minutes, not in 4 minutes.
This is why we never struggle for topics.
Yes. So do you want advice on conquering hoarseness?
I do, because I'm hoarse. I'd love for you to write into me at Julia.
By the way, have you swallowed honey? I'm not joking.
Well, we have some right there.
Maybe. Well, you could do it right now on camera. I'm not sure everybody will be fascinated.
Why not?
Because
I could.
It's just not that interesting.
Oh, I think it's fascinating. But I could do that. But also, I had a point about cigars and cigarillos.
By the way,
they're so calming.
You want to know the test on whether you know you've inhaled? Seriously? If you can breathe the smoke out your nose, then you've inhaled.
I'm testing it now, even though I don't have smoke.
I really can't do it now.
Yeah.
Okay. You raised a question that could end up taking the hour. I hope it doesn't. But so I have been open with you, and obviously therefore with those who listen. I have been only in the last couple of years, which is, I'm disappointed in me because it's so basic and I didn't realize this sooner. That's what I say to myself. Dennis, you pride yourself on having at least given thought to the biggest issues of life. This is one of the biggest and you didn't think about it. I've thought about human nature all of my life, but I didn't distinguish it from our own individual nature till the last couple of years.
Yes. I know this plagues you.
Oh, it plagues me more each day, but it does something else. What you alluded to in one sentence. It makes you more patient with people.
That's very true. That's very true. You know, what we were saying earlier, that many people who wouldn't know us would find make the rubber band about some macro topic. They would find that to be
you said pretentious.
Pompous, yes. Yeah. You know, I think I've had friends who have had to adjust to this with me. And here's another thing. Yes, we have natures. I've always been this way. I've always been extremely curious. I've always been very attuned to life. I'm obsessed with life. That's really what it is. And I know you are too. I am truly obsessed with life. I think all of this is really cool. And even the evil and the hard and the dark parts, that is, I hate to say that's cool, but that is utterly captivating to me. And a lot of people, and I don't begrudge them, maybe don't find life as interesting. Like they're kind of going through the motions. I tend to have friends who, like me, find life to be interesting, but nevertheless, I know they've had to adjust to this with me. In the same way that I've had to adjust with some things with them, where sometimes if they don't want to talk about the macro big subjects of life, they want to talk more about everyday things or gossip. Sometimes I find that I have to adjust to that, and I can't judge them for wanting to talk about those things because they don't judge me for wanting to talk about.
Well, so you came ahead of it. Came into this 50 years ahead of me.
Yes, that's right. But also it's our job. You know, I've always been curious. I've always been obsessed with life, but I've become even more this way because of my job. I am way more, how would we describe it? Yeah, I'm way more macro. I'm way less, I hope this doesn't sound self-aggrandizing, but I'm way less shallow. I'm way less earthly. I know this may sound weird, but like I'm just way less earthly than I was.
What does earthly mean?
I really don't care about what other people are doing. I really don't. I don't really care who's going to what college or who went on what vacation or who.
All right, that's not earthly.
But it kind of is. It kind of is like who had a friendship breakup with whom. That doesn't. Right. It used to. I used to go, oh, that girl, or not in a gossipy way, but oh, that person and that person broke up, or that person and that person had a friendship breakup. Now I notice I really don't care. It actually bores me, and that is not something. I hope people realize this. Yes, it's my nature. I take credit for the amount that I read, the amount that I contemplate big things in life. I take credit for that, but I'm not saying this in a pompous way, like I'm so elevated, I don't care about earthly things. I've had to make myself this way for our shows, because every single day when the mic goes on and we're on the air, it's our job to touch people. It's our job to bring the macro, because every day people are going to their jobs. People are, listening to us as they're, I got an email from someone the other day and she said, I love putting you on when I'm making dinner, and I'm very aware of that. And I'm very aware that people don't have the luxury as I do to talk about the big things in life. And so I want to make sure I master the big things and bring it to them. But in turn, because I am still a person as well as a professional, I have become obsessed with the big things, such that in my personal life, when people start talking about this girl we knew, and if this girl is going to marry this guy, or well, that I find interesting, or if this girl doesn't like this other girl anymore, I don't give a shit. Sorry. I know that was kind of a rant, but I don't care anymore.
I'm smiling because I've known this about me all of my life. And in high school, I came up with a theory in high school. And the theory was that the greater the number of people in a conversation, the shallower the conversation gets.
That's not true of Shabbat, though.
Correct. That's correct.
But that's because you've really, I learn a lot from you, Dennis. I mean, those Friday nights we have are incredibly special. And I know that they're special because we have 20 people and we're talking about some of the greatest things in life, but it's because all of us have a shared kinship, if you will, in loving the eternal.
Right. It doesn't have to be, but it does. Generally speaking, but maybe I'm now realizing there may be a reason. Maybe my rule wasn't accurate. Maybe it was because if it went in one-on-one, I could control the conversation. I could, because it's my nature, I could talk the deep stuff. I didn't give it. Do you know that I have announced on the radio all of my life, and I've never thought about it, how do listeners react? Say, folks, this may sound bizarre to many of you, but I want you to know that so-and-so public figure, politics, sports, show business, having an affair holds no interest.
Ooh, I kind of find that that is the stuff I'm kind of shallow on.
No,
I
fine.
do find that to be interesting, but because of human nature.
I know.
Why did this person have an affair?
Yeah.
Do most people have affairs?
Right. Okay. I think I know the answer to when a man has an affair, it is usually for sex. When a woman has an affair, it is usually for attention.
See, that's fascinating. I want to figure out why the people had an affair, and I don't judge them. I really don't.
Yeah, but I don't even find. See, but I don't even find it interesting because my assumption is most men. Let's put it this way. My assumption is, and maybe this is fascinating talking to itself. My assumption is that most men will give in if the opportunity arises. Did you know that there was a business, I was going to say a service, but they claim to be a service. So girls wanting to know if this is guy I want to marry would actually hire a woman who would dress sexy, meet the guy at a bar, be obviously somewhat available, so to speak. And if he tried to pick her up, then the girlfriend would drop the guy. He's going to cheat on. If he's going to cheat on me while we're dating, he'll certainly cheat on me when we're married. Which, by the way, I don't know if that is a. I don't know if that's a valid rule. One. Yeah, it is an interesting one, worthy of its own discussion. Is there a difference between committed dating and marriage? And I think there's a world of difference personally, but many people don't. But anyway, I always thought it's a stupid test to put him on. Let us say my girlfriend, I don't know, the analogy is not perfect, but my girlfriend is on a very strict diet. She doesn't want to get type 2 diabetes. I don't know what. And I have people constantly coming over the most delicious desserts to her, and she has a big sweet tooth, which most people have. It's maybe you just shouldn't put people to the test. By the way, there's so many pregnant subjects here.
I love that, pregnant subjects.
Yes, that's right. They're pregnant subjects. How many guys would pass, forget married men, though that's worthy of a question. And by the way, you've really gotten an education about men.
Thanks, Dennis.
Yes,
seriously.
I truly do take credit for that.
Thank you.
Yes, it's worthy of a thanks. If you're still waiting to buy gold, sitting on the sidelines might cost you precious gains. This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. That's my choice for precious metals. The current economic climate could make buying gold a very desirable safe haven commodity. The government's overprinting of money, the fluctuation of interest rates, and high inflation can all impact the value of gold, and it's why you should seriously consider buying now. I've been working with AmFed Coin and Bullion's owner, Nick Rovich, for years. I'm glad that I jumped into the precious metals market when I did, but it's never too late. Nick's been in the industry for over 42 years, and he's proud of providing transparency and fair pricing to build long-term relationships. Nick and his team have my back, and they will have yours. They recommend what's in my best interest, not theirs, and I never worry about hidden commissions or huge markups. If you're interested in buying or selling, call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review, 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com, AmericanFederal.com. As I've said all of my life, there's no way a woman can understand men.
Well, I went to an all-girls school, too.
No. Right, that helped. It's a big help if you have brothers. That's a big help.
All sisters.
But you had all sisters. You went to an all-girls school. There is no way you can begin to understand men.
And my dad is the best. Like my dad is, I got so lucky with my dad. He is the most stable, loving,
right,
don't
but
look
I'm not,
the other way at women.
Yeah, but that's his character.
Right.
The issue is explaining men.
Yeah.
Most fathers, or I don't think, explain men. No, most mothers certainly don't. They should. Parents should explain to girls what men are like. It's absolutely urgent because there's no way to know. But anyway, I do believe that most guys who are not married, okay, not even engaged, but they're in a, committed is not the word that dating people use. What is the word?
In a relationship?
Yeah. Where no, there is a word, and it's not committed. We're exclusive. That's the word that's used. You're in an exclusive relationship. How many guys, let's say guy 28 years old, guy 25, 28, he's in 2 years an exclusive relationship with a woman. They're not engaged and certainly not, obviously not married. And a really sexy woman approaches him at a bar and makes it clear she is available to him. How many men will say, I'm sorry, I'm in an exclusive relationship, have a nice night?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I would hope a lot, but probably not a lot.
Well, we all hope a lot. I could just tell you that this, I don't think you've ever heard me note. This is a very interesting, and to Billy Graham. Do you ever hear of Billy Graham? Because I never know what famous person from the previous generation is still famous. Billy Graham was the best known Christian in the world. Better known than any pope, and he was Protestant. And he was the great evangelizer on earth.
Wow.
Yeah. Incredible rallies everywhere. I mean, he went everywhere in the world, and vast numbers would come to see him. I mean, he would have a thing, to put it in Los Angeles terms, at the Rose Bowl and fill the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Anyway, So Billy Graham was, as almost all evangelicals, certainly then, conservative. I remember when Bill Clinton, this was obviously right before you were born, Bill Clinton had his affair
with Monica Lewinsky.
Right, correct. About which I have a lot to say too, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it.
My heart has always gone out to her.
Oh, of course.
I think she was dealt a bum rap by the media.
All of it.
Don't start me. Okay. So anyway, Billy Graham, who was not a liberal Democrat, and Clinton was, but he said no one should judge a man. I'm paraphrasing, but the gist was no one who doesn't have all the opportunities that a man like Bill Clinton has should judge him. See,
interesting.
Most men do not have vast numbers of young women pursuing them, throwing them. Okay,
right.
Sports figures do, musicians do, politicians do,
it's true.
Powerful men do, famous men, but it's a very tiny percentage.
And I know women. I can speak as a woman. There are a lot of women, who chase.
That's correct.
Rich, powerful guys.
Right.
A lot.
Right. They don't have to be rich. Just powerful.
They play games to get these guys.
Yes, that is correct.
They do. They throw themselves at them. They use sex. They play games.
Correct. So I knew as a man, I've always been sympathetic to men because I know our nature. I am included in that nature. Mm-hmm. I'm no different from Bill Clinton except in behavior. But I'm no different from Hugh Hefner except in behavior. I mean, women want to believe their husband is different. Their father is different. They're not. Hello. They're not. They behave differently, and that is to their credit.
Listen, I'm not Mother Teresa. I want to marry a wealthy guy. I want to marry a guy who is established in a career. That is not the primary concern for me, but I do, and it's not. These
you don't have to make.
You're a woman.
Right, yes,
like I'm a woman. Any woman who is honest with themselves is going to agree with me, and any man who's honest with themselves is going to agree with you about how you're no different than Hugh Hefner, except in behavior.
Right.
We are men and women. We are people. We are flawed, but we have to just recognize that. I
have an anecdote for you. I'm so happy when I could tell you a story I haven't told you yet.
I love it. You will. This is precious. My favorite are Aunt Chippy stories.
Really?
Yeah, because I have an Uncle Chippy.
Okay. That's funny. You must be odd to you that I have an Aunt Chippy. It's
and
odd
you've
to me
met my Uncle Chippy.
Yes, I adore him. I got those great pictures of you two.
Oh.
You saw them, right?
No, I've never seen them.
I'll send them to you because
I've never seen them.
Photography's my thing. You'll love the pictures. Anyway, so this is going to go into my autobiography. This is one of the 20 great moments of my life. And great doesn't mean some momentous thing happened, but it was great in the way that people will understand it. So I was very much into sports. Racquetball and tennis were my sports. I played it regularly. I was a member of a gym that had racquetball courts, and I went twice a week. And I usually played this one friend of mine, wonderful guy. And this was in our early 30s or late 20s. And he got married early, late 20s or early 30s. And they met because of me, as it happens.
That's a theme.
That's a theme. That is correct. So I was close to both because I had, known them and got them together. Okay. Anyway, we're having dinner. The two of them, they had just gotten married, or they were just about to be married. I think they had just gotten married. And we're having dinner. and I don't have a woman with me. It's just the three of us.
I don't got a chick.
No chick.
No chick on my arm.
And so Dennis, she says, how's racquetball with, and fills in her husband's name. Go, oh, great. We love it. And I got to tell you, there's an added bonus. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember my words, but essentially. And that is, between games, we just step outside the court, sit on the bench right outside the window to our racquetball court, and all these good-looking women are walking by, in their tights and their shorts and so on. And then I go, and we just enjoy the scenery. And I get a severe kick under the table. Oh, yes, I know this. You told me this from the guy. The guy whose wife was. And the wife goes,
No, this is a new story that she's never heard.
Sean's
Sean,
so shady. You are Mr. Shadester.
Sean, go back to the video game.
McShade.
Why are you listening?
He's
so anyway,
Sean McShade.
So he kicks me, and then he goes, well, let's give him a name, Tommy. Oh, Tommy's not like that. And I remember thinking,
I love this story.
You have to be kidding. Tommy is not checking out women scantily clad walking by in the gym because he's married. And I'm thinking, what planet does this woman live on?
Okay.
But the killer was not that she said that. The killer was that he kicked me because he wanted her to believe that.
Yes.
That was so sad to me that he had to lie about his nature to his wife.
See, you and Sue, and look, I'm just going to say, and I've said this on the air before, my parents don't talk to me about sex, and I'm glad. Please don't talk to me about it.
Most parents don't.
Most parents don't. Just, I know they watch the show. I love you. Never talk to me about it. I don't want to know. Dennis is, Dennis can help. So you and Sue are so interesting to me. You really are, because, when it's your own parents, it's uncomfortable. But I'm lucky with you guys because, it's not as weird because you're not my parents. Right. Exactly. And you guys are both very open with each other about these things.
100%
and
open.
What I love about it is that you're very open with Sue about your finding women attractive, but it is not even a question that you would ever stray from your marriage. It is not even like a question of a question. Because it's so obvious how much you love her and how much she loves you, and you always make her feel like she is the love of your life, because she is.
And the sexy love of my life.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes, you do.
She's not the platonic love of my life.
Yes, you're always telling her how beautiful she is.
Yes, and sexy.
It's really amazing.
I use that term.
And it's really amazing to see, because you guys are very rare. You're very open with each other.
We're totally open, but I want to tell you.
But it's a credit to her, because most women.
Yes, correct.
Most women.
But I will tell you.
And I've learned a lot from her, because guess what? I don't know if I would be so comfortable if my boyfriend or husband were telling me about his male nature. I think that would be really scary to me as a woman. And I've learned from Sue to
not be scared.
Not be scared.
That's right.
Because if you have the right guy, he's going to be honest with you about his male nature, but he's also going to be totally devoted to you.
That's correct. So that's exactly right, which is why I don't believe, as a general rule, there are exceptions. There are certain things that cross over, but I don't believe in sinful thoughts nearly as much as I do sinful behavior.
Mm-hmm. I know we've had some great Dennis and Julie's on this,
and I've had it with Christian Christian spokesman that I've had Ask a Jew, Ask a Christian dialogues for 10 years across the country. I don't care what you think. I care how you behave.
So I have a question for you about this. Your insight, about judging behavior, I think, is so valuable. I'll root this in an example. You know, I have some friends who work in industries where you really kind of got to know who's who. You know, media, Hollywood type industries, where it is a part of their industry to know who's who. It just is. You and I are really lucky, Dennis, because that's not a big part of our industry, or at least our positions in our industry. We get to show up here every day and talk about the macro. We get to talk about eternal things. Remember when I was saying that I'm not as earthly?
Right. Yeah, I get it.
In large part, it is because of my work environment. It really is, because I get to come in and hang out with Dennis Prager all day, and I get to talk about worldly things. A lot of people don't have that luxury. A lot of people work in industries where they're like, it's just a different culture. You're producing a different product. It's a different culture. And I have some friends who, as I've said, work in these industries where it really is important to know who's who. And I find, because I'm so privileged to work in my little niche of this industry, that sometimes I don't judge them, but sometimes I think like, ugh, why does it have to be this way? You know, why do you care? Or why do you have to care who's who? And I can't figure out what I should think about that. I can't figure out if...
I'm not following exactly. What does it mean, figure out who's who?
Like,
I don't, that's not where I'm clear. Who is trying to figure out who's who?
You know, if you're...
Employers,
okay, let's put it this way. And I don't have a friend who's an agent. I actually don't. But let's say you're an agent. Mm-hmm. The way that you work as an agent is that you represent talent, and if you get them a movie or if you get them a TV show, you collect 10% of what they earn. You've got to be a shark to be an agent. You got to have your hand in all these different kinds of places.
Who's who?
Because you got to know who's who. You got to get invited to the right parties. You got to be with the right people.
I thought you meant you needed to know people's natures. Needed to know who. Oh, I'm glad I asked. I had no clue what you were saying.
You need to know, okay, this person is on this movie. Who are the movers and shakers? Exactly.
Okay, all right.
And you've got to be friends with this person.
So what does that have to do with our theme?
Okay, what it has to do with is if we're judging people for behavior, I find to be the who's who. How did you put it? I find caring about movers and shakers, I'm just going to say it, to be shallow.
Right, I agree with you.
I find it to be shallow.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone is created in the image and likeness of God. I believe everyone is equal. And I believe we should treat people equally.
Are you ready to lose weight but not sure where to start? So I'd like to tell you why I chose PhD weight loss and nutrition. First, Dr. Ashley Lucas has her PhD in chronic disease and sports nutrition. The program is science-based. The PhD program starts with nutrition and is much more. They know 90% of permanent change comes from the mind, and they work on eliminating reasons you gained weight in the first place. There are no shortcuts, no pills, no injections, just solid science, science-based nutrition, and behavior change. If you're ready to lose weight for, I think, the last time, call 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900 to get started. Or online at myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. Just make the appointment for your one-on-one consultation. Call today, 864-644-1900.
And people who I know do treat people equally. They treat people in a lovely way. But some of my friends are in industries where they have to suck up to people. They have to care about movers and shakers. They have to get invited to the right parties. They have to be in the right team.
Right,
so my question is,
that's a professional need.
Do I judge,
Right. So,
I find it to be shallow, but also maybe I'm not in a position to have an opinion about that because that's their industry. And I got lucky. I hit a unicorn with Dennis Prager who doesn't care. And I am in a unicorn industry where I get to talk about worldly things all day. Maybe it's not fair for me to judge people for being shallow because I am lucky that I don't have to be shallow all day. Maybe if I weren't as lucky and didn't work on this show or work in this environment, I would have to be more shallow. So this is sort of a bigger question I have. Like, I believe in universal standards. I believe in universal behavior. I do believe being shallow is wrong. I do believe, sucking up to people in order to get something is morally wrong. But also maybe there is a kind of moral relativism in the world that we have to subscribe to, where in some industries, in order to get your paycheck, you do have to be kind of shallow.
Okay, there are so many issues raised here. It's funny because, my son Aaron does a podcast.
AP Unfiltered.
AP Unfiltered.
No space between the two.
Right. AP for Aaron Prager. So he has one recurring line in every one of his daily
He's brilliant.
ones. Thank you. His recurring line is, being informed is an American and moral obligation.
That's right.
That's his way of saying, I'm judging you if you're not interested in big issues.
This is important, but this is not exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
I think it is exactly what you're saying.
Okay, go on.
Because not to care about your society is shallow.
It's more so 100% agreed, but it's more on an interpersonal level. I know some people who need to care about how much money people have, or how much fame people have, or how connected people are, in order to advance themselves in their career.
They're related, they're not identical. Okay, that's fair.
And I can't figure out if
you should judge them or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So it goes back to my original statement to you. Remember I said, knowing the power of individual nature in addition to the power of human nature has made me less, what is it? I didn't say less judgmental. I used a different, more accepting of people. It has.
Yeah.
Here's one. This is a related thing to what you just said and what I just said. So I've never, this is why Dennis and Julie is unique in my life, because it brings out stuff as open as I am on my own show. It takes someone like you to bring it out of me. So I have never said this publicly, and not for any other reason than I never thought to. Now it's being dragged out of me, as it were. So I often think, and I say to myself, Dennis, well, what if everybody were as thoughtful, not in the sense of being kind, but filled with thought, as you are?
You wouldn't have a job.
Exactly. Exactly. Isn't that interesting?
Of course. No, of course. It's utterly fascinating. I mean, you're right. And you're right.
So anyway, it's just it's not a here or there thing. Look, I gave a course in the either 80s or 90s. It's still available at the Prager store, which Salem owns. I don't own it. And it's called How to Lead a Deeper and Better Life. So how do you get more deep and more good? And it's not an easy course to give.
That's right.
How do you, a course in getting deeper? Anyway, who wakes up and thinks, I wish I were deeper? People think, I wish I was richer. I wish I was more successful. I wish I was better looking. I wish I was smarter. I mean, but nobody wakes up, or I would say close to nobody, and thinks, I wish I were deeper.
That's right.
By the way, if you wish you were deeper, you'll get deeper. That's the irony.
Well, yes. Well, okay. Wow. There's a lot to say about this. So what I was saying a few minutes ago is, as a synopsis, that I can't figure out whether to judge people for being shallow if being shallow is a part of their career, because I know how lucky I am.
Yeah, but that's
being
career.
Shallow
No,
is
your question is valid, because obviously an agent has to meet with non-deep people.
Has to go
forget
and work it. I mean,
but so that's not an issue. Of course, you don't blame him for that.
Yes.
It's like you're going to blame a baseball player for talking baseball all the time.
But here, I'll give you another example. So because of this job, we're very lucky because we meet a lot of different people. I have met some Christians, and I know you know Christians like this, who are so Christian. They are so not earthly that I want them to be more earthly. I want them to call up a favor. I want them to, like I know Christians. I seriously know some Christians, and they will open their home to anyone. And they'll go, oh my gosh, this person was on a pilgrimage and they needed an extra bedroom. And God's providence would have it that my bedroom was open that night because my guest the night before who was coming in from, this other missionary trip had left. And I'm like, kick these people out of your house and have your own home. Or I know Christians who are like, God has really blessed us because, we've given away so much of our salary to the church. And, even though sometimes we fear we can't pay our bills, God's providence will always have it that we have just enough money to pay our bills.
God
and I'm
will
like,
provide.
Call some rich Christian and get a loan. Like sometimes it's so funny because I feel like I'm in all these different worlds where I'm with secular people who don't have enough of the worldly, and sometimes I'm like, come on, you got to have more of the worldly. Don't just work it to get a job. Come on. And then sometimes I'm with these Christians who are so godly that I'm like, call up a favor and get a loan. And I know this seems a little disjointed, these comparisons, but I think the through line here is, how do we judge people? Do we judge people based on their context? Do we judge people based on their lives and their situations and what they need to do in order to make money, what they need to do in order to, get a good job? Do we judge people based on how strongly they adhere to their religion? Like, should I judge the great Christians I know by the worldview that they prescribe themselves? Does this make sense?
Well, the issue, okay, I do, it totally makes sense, but it's not just Christians, it's almost any really religious person. They don't fully live on this earth.
They don't.
And they would acknowledge that they don't.
They don't,
But
yes.
But I'm with you. I'm deeply religious and fully live on this earth.
That's right.
And for Christians, I mean, Jesus is the perfect example. He was fully human and fully divine. That is the Christian belief. So you've got to be fully human too.
Yes.
You can't just be in touch with the divine. And I would say that to some of my religious Jewish friends who, I bring out the earthly, to use your term, in them.
I know you do. I've seen this.
Yes, and I often feel, I will say to my wife, I think there is a certain rabbi I'm thinking of, and I am convinced I am the only person on earth who talks to him like I do, who makes jokes, for example.
But Dennis, this is, I think,
because he's so holy. Who wants to joke with a holy man?
People are so used to you bringing out the worldly in other people. They don't understand that you also bring out the earthly and the religious. And I'm starting to see this as I come up in the world. I'm used to bringing out the worldly in some of my secular friends. And now I find myself bringing out the earthly in a lot of my religious friends. And so it's very interesting because it's like, and when I say, how do you judge people? I don't go around talking smack in my head about people. That's not what I mean by judge people. But like, do I advise my secular worldly friends based on their secular worldly life? If they have to kind of work
worldly is not the word. I don't find them worldly. They're this world.
Earthly.
Yes.
Do I, like, for instance, and this is completely hypothetical. I always protect my friends. I actually don't have any friend who's an agent. But, if I have a friend who's an agent and they really want to get this great actor to represent, and they got invited to this party and they want my advice on how to kind of work it. Do I give them advice on how to work it because that's their world? Even though I don't really believe in working it, I believe in not working it. Like I believe in just letting providence, letting life kind of guide you. Do I give them their earthly advice in their earthly realm? And then similarly with the religious people, like, do I try to bring them more back to earth, or do I give them advice as Christians and Catholics for whom that is their worldview, and they should give money away and they should host missionaries? I find myself like I'm getting sturdy in my worldview, but I'm seeing so many people in life, they have their own worldviews. And it's hard because then I wonder, are there universal, I know we're getting really pie in the sky here, but like, are there universal standards to which all of us should subscribe? Or are we all kind of relativist and we are all products of our own religion, our own jobs, our own professions and personalities?
So I have grappled exactly with this issue my whole life. And more so today, ironically. You'd think I would have either ended my grappling or have already grappled so much I'm tired of it or I don't have to do anymore. It's relatively new in certain ways, as I've explained earlier, with my current deep realization that everyone has a nature. Mm-hmm. So let me give you my answers to what you raised will help the listener understand what you've raised. So I'll give you an example that in a certain way will hit home because you would be one I would judge adversely according to what I would have thought when I was a kid.
Yes.
So I fell in love with classical music in high school. I taught myself how to conduct. I obviously play an instrument, and I'm crazy about classical music. It's the perfect combination of the intellect and the divine. So and the emotion. It's the heart, the soul, and the mind are equally engaged. That's how powerful I find it. And with love at first hearing in my sophomore year in high school.
I love that.
And I love it too. I was a gift. So here's something I had to grapple with, to show how early I grappled with it and to give a perfect example of grappling with it. My closest friend then, and remains a tremendously close friend, I could say his name, Joseph Telushkin. We met in my sophomore year in high school. I fell in love with him and I fell in love with classical music the same year. Okay, there we go. That's exactly. Newest edition is just about to come out. We wrote 2 books together many years ago. Anyone who knows, he's an extremely deep human being. And our talks, we would do hours and hours and hours at a time, sitting in my car in cold Manhattan when we were both in graduate school, in different schools. Anyway, I remember grappling with the fact that deep Joseph couldn't care less about classical music.
Yes, you've told this before, and it's so older I get, it's so helpful to me.
Yes, people must understand. He forced me to understand, Dennis, you can't judge anybody by whether they love classical music. And by the way, vice versa, there were so many people who are great musicians and who are a-holes as human beings.
Yes.
So that, by the way, that also was a killer for me. When I learned that Hitler loved Mozart and Schubert, and I thought, oh crap, what does that say? It says that there's no moral impact by great music doesn't have a great impact.
It's actually kind of like a death almost. It sounds so strange when people who you care so much about and with whom you are so connected on a great many issues.
Right.
And you
then
present something you
so
love.
Passionate
and
to
it's
you.
Almost like, wait, what? You're not the person
yes.
I thought I knew, but
right.
that's not true. We're all different.
That's right.
And we all have different natures. We all have different proclivities, and that's okay.
Therefore, I've come down to virtually all I judge is the moral. Are you a decent person, both macro and micro? Because
okay, but here's the thing, and maybe I'm finding this because of my age, maybe I'm finding this because of where I grew up, maybe I'm finding this because of the schools I went to, I'm not sure, or maybe this is universal. I think a lot of young people could relate to this. But wait, forgive me, what was the comment you just finished with?
Well, I think I finished with that. Oh, maybe that wasn't my final thought about, those who love music are not necessarily. Oh, yeah. My only judgment is, are you decent?
Decent. Thank you. Thank you. Before we continue, I want to tell you about MyPillow. I use many MyPillow products. I walk into work every day wearing the My slippers, and then I quickly change into heels. I sleep on the MyPillow in the Giza Dream bed sheets, and I use My towels, among other products. And you can get many of these products at a discount if you use the promo code Hartman. MyPillow's latest deal is the sale of the year. For a limited time, you'll get 60% off of the aforementioned Giza Dream bed sheets. That comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. You'll get a set for as low as $39.99 with the promo code Hartman. Just go to mypillow.com and click on the radio listener square and use the promo code Hartman, or call 1-800-566-6745 and use the promo code Hartman. Along with this offer, you'll get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow mattress topper, the MyPillow towel sets, and more. We now live in a world, this is actually so fascinating. You have no idea. I mean, my generation, we have not been raised overwhelmingly with the values that you were raised with.
Like?
A lot of things, actually. A lot of things, like writing a thank you note. When growing up, let me tell you, and this is where I adore my parents in so many ways, but I will always be so grateful for the manners that they taught me. My parents are both very mannered people. And my mom, growing up, she always had me write a thank you note. Always. Seriously, when I was 8, I remember this so well. There was a girl in my class, Isabel, and this is one of the defining things of my life. And she had I had a birthday party and she gave me some gift, and I had written all my thank you notes, and for some reason I didn't write this girl Isabel a thank you note, and my mom kept a list of the people who I wrote thank you notes to, and for some reason I didn't write this girl Isabel a thank you note. And it was 5 months after my birthday, or 6 months after my birthday, and I still hadn't written this girl a thank you note. And I remember this vividly. I remember sitting and saying, Mom, it's so past my birthday. She gave me this 6 months ago. She forgot about it. We're past this. I don't need to write a thank you note. And she said, no, I don't care if it's late. You always write a thank you note. And I sent this girl a thank you note 6 months later when I was 8 years old. The way that I just went to Europe for 5 weeks. There were some parts of the trip where I stayed in my own hotels. There were other parts of the trip where I stayed with Astrid, for instance, or where I stayed with other friends. I will always write people a handwritten thank you note for hosting me at my house.
That's big.
It is, and it means so much to people.
And handwritten is the best.
Of course, and but also, okay, that is, to me, that is the least that I could do. Astrid, for instance, she was so gracious to me. She knows I'm an eater. She got me Danish bread. She got me this great sausage. She stocked up the fridge for me. She was such a lovely and gracious host. By the way, everyone should check out the fireside chat that Dennis did with Astrid. It's fantastic. Of course, I would write her a thank you note. This doesn't make me holier than thou. This doesn't make me spectacularly mannered. Are you telling me this girl hosts me at her apartment for a few days and make sure that I have all the things that I like, and I'm not going to write her a thank you note? That makes me the jackass that I wouldn't properly thank her. But my generation, we've been raised with different, not all of us have been raised the same way. We just haven't. There used to be a universal American culture of certain things, like writing a thank you note, and that is not what my generation has anymore. And in a way, I host friends and I don't expect them to write me a thank you note. So, and this is what I can't figure out, Dennis. I can't figure out if I should judge myself and others according to universal standards, or if our society is so out of whack that everyone really is living their truth. A lot of my friends grew up in homes where their parents didn't tell them to write thank you notes. And that doesn't mean that their parents are bad people. Our culture is so atrophied now. I have friends where, I have friends, who will, I don't want to give that example, but sorry, I think a lot of young people will understand, our culture is really broken, and a lot of people behave based on how they were raised, and it's and not according to a shared American culture. And that's a real loss. But then
that's why I opposed multiculturalism. When it first came out, in, I don't know, the 90s or 80s, and I spoke against it immediately. I said, I had read it somewhere. I opposed multiculturalism, and then I read this. We are multi-ethnic, we're multiracial, but we're not multicultural.
Yes, this is the thing, and really, this is the through line of the whole conversation. I believe in a set of principles that everyone should generally follow. Now, that doesn't mean if somebody doesn't follow it, I'm gonna, want to punish them. But I believe that a great country, a great culture thrives on some universal principles.
Like you hold the door for
a woman. That's another thing. I have gone on dates before.
Or even hold the door for the person walking behind you, the stranger, male
Dennis,
or female.
We've really hit a gold mine on this topic, because I've been on dates with really great guys who do not open the door for me. I have been on dates with really great guys who split the dinner. And this is what I can't figure out, at the risk of repeating myself, but the whole episode.
Can you judge them?
Do I judge them?
Yes.
Is it just, are they, because they weren't raised in homes where you pay for the girl, because we're in a liberal society now.
Can you judge someone is not the same as can I explain someone? You can judge and you can explain. Well, they were raised crappily. Fine, okay, but it doesn't end the judgment.
Oh boy, we're really about to go here now. We're really going here. I know conservative guys who watch pornography. I know conservative guys who don't hold open the door. I know liberal guys who do hold open the door. I know, we're a very atrophied culture. And so it really is hard, because especially, I don't mean to overcomplicate this, I really don't, but it is relevant. Social media, my generation grew up with social media, where even more we became exposed to different ways of doing things, different cultures, different norms, and so again, in a way, it's really hard to figure out people.
What you're saying, I think, is it's hard to know how to judge.
It is, because think about it. A guy who grew up in a good home, who's 12 years old, and a guy and also grew up in the age of Pornhub being thrown at them all the time, and explicit sexual content on Instagram. Can you really blame him if he watches porn a lot as an adult? Or similarly, a guy or a girl or, anybody who, I'll take a guy, for example, a guy who grew up in a home with liberal parents who didn't teach him to open the door, but maybe he grew up to be conservative. Can you judge him?
So have I given you the example of Oskar Schindler, the German who saved 1,000 Jews, who, Schindler's List, the famous movie? Are you familiar with the movie?
I know the movie. It's an excellent movie.
Right. Well, it's a true story.
I know.
And the guy, which obviously exceedingly rare, he kept hiring Jews to save their lives. He was not only a German, he was a member of the Nazi Party, and he was a serial adulterer. Mm-hmm. And I always use his example whenever people say, Trump, you committed adultery. I go, yeah, well, Schindler committed more adultery, and so did King David. and God was okay with King David, not okay with the adultery. And Oskar Schindler is a moral giant compared to all the faithful Germans who did nothing to save a Jew. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying and I'm saying, on all levels, it is almost impossible to judge a person. You can only judge behavior. That you can do. But nevertheless, if we don't judge people at all, we've abandoned a moral universe.
Agreed. And you know what's interesting too in this, I believe that we're entering a post-woke culture. In many ways, the culture is still woke, but I have even found among my peers from college, a lot of people on the periphery who used to disapprove of me in college are now actually not only fine with me, but many of them actually are coming around to agree with me. In college, when and I'm not trying to act like I was gravely persecuted for my beliefs. I mean, I was really lucky. You know, I had great friends, but I was definitely a bit of a social pariah. There were some people who really did not like me on campus and who would gossip about me and would gossip about my show with you and would gossip about my conservatism and would gossip about, oh, does she really believe that? And her beliefs are dangerous to society. And now a lot of them are coming around, which is really great. But I believe we're now sort of entering a post-woke society. And I find in this post-woke society, among my generation, there's a new idea that's in vogue of, well, you can't judge people for anything. Like we've almost swung so far in the opposite direction where we grew up in this heavy woke culture where we were fearful. I mean, this is so interesting. This is why the generational part of Dennis and Julie is so valuable. You know, you were watching woke as someone who was married with children and your radio show. I was watching woke as someone building my life. I was someone, you know, I could have gone in the opposite direction. I was blessed enough to find you and come onto the show and make a career out of this. But a lot of people were quaking in the Leviathan of woke. You know, a lot of people didn't have the luxury that I had. A lot of people had to be so careful with what they said. They had to be so careful with who they interacted with. They had to be so careful with what they posted because they were applying for corporate jobs and they needed to get corporate jobs. Anyway, I know I went on a little bit of an aside, but the point is we all grew up in this age of being so judged with woke. And now, thankfully, I think the pendulum is swinging. But now I find among people my age, it's like we can't judge people for anything because we were so heavily judged during woke. Now we just like, if people are rude, they're rude. If people are, you know, not that anybody's racist, but if people are racist, they're racist. If people are this, they're that, you know, F it. We just can't judge anyone because everyone is just doing their best.
Yeah, I didn't know that that's developing.
Yes, it is.
So this has to be continued at some point. It evolved into the question, really from early in the hour, of when and whom can you judge? See, if we don't judge at all, we're lost. If we judge too quickly, we're cruel and will render judgments that are just inaccurate. So, I mean, let's go back to Oskar Schindler. How do we judge Oskar Schindler?
Exactly. It's fascinating, right?
Well, exactly. So that's why, you know, I believe in a just God and he'll sort it out. However, would I prefer a faithful German who did nothing to help Jews to an adulterous German who saved Jews, or anybody else, obviously, but that's the group that they went out to destroy, Jews? Of course, there's no question in my mind. I do believe, and this is another fascinating discussion, in my dialogues with Christians, especially Protestants, whom I adore, for many, many reasons. They abolished slavery. They created America. I have a great affection for Protestant Americans and Protestants in many countries. But here's a rare time where
Bingo.
because I wanted to explain. I wanted to go on a
Don't
tangent.
worry.
No. This is such an important point. Oh yes, it's in dialogue with them. Oh yes. So I will say on the radio, there are gradations of sin, and I was stunned in the beginning. I'm no longer stunned at all. I expect it, but wonderful people who share 98% of my values and whom I adore and who adore me will call in and say, well, no, all sin is rebellion against God. I even know their rhetoric. All sin is rebellion against God. It's not a gradation of sin. It's all rebellion. So, and I gave the same example almost all of my career. I said, I want to understand something. Do you think that God regards the rape of a child as equivalent to taking a stapler from your office?
I hate to say this, it's so stupid.
Well, all right. So let me tell you their answer. Their answer is, well, of course we regard it as different, but sin is sin in God's eyes. And I go, no, sin is sin in God's eyes doesn't answer the question. God definitely thinks the rape of a child is infinitely worse than stealing a stapler. So I don't even know where it developed. That's why I say this is the heretical Dennis. I've often said, and this is true in my own religion, this is not exclusive to Christianity or certainly not to Protestantism. It is true in my own religion. I said the most heretical thing I can say to many religious people is God has common sense. Because it sounds heretical.
Well, we're created in the image and likeness of God, and we possess parts of what God has, and we have common sense.
If God doesn't
so
see the difference between the rape of a child and stealing a stapler, I'm an atheist.
You know what you told me once? This could be really off topic, but I've thought about it a lot. You once said on Dennis and Julie, God gave us guilt. Like God gave us the capacity to have a lot of the emotions that we have.
Right.
And I think that's very interesting, because if God gave us the capacity to have many of the emotions and the proclivities that we have, then he must possess some of those proclivities too. In other words, if we have common sense, then God must have common sense. Now, he's God. I don't believe God is evil. Like I believe, because he's not. He's perfect. He's good. But with the good qualities, if you will, that we possess, if we are created in his image and likeness, then he must have them too. And so I do believe that God rules with common sense. Otherwise, he's not. Then he's just some irrational guy in the sky. Why
would he give us the ability to discern through common sense if it's useless?
That's right. That's why your book is called The Rational Bible.
Yes. God and reason. God without reason is fanaticism. Reason without God is men give birth. So you have this. They need. Each one needs the other.
Yes.
Are you ready to lose weight but not sure where to start? So I'd like to tell you why I chose PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. First, Dr. Ashley Lucas has her PhD in chronic disease and sports nutrition. The program is science-based. The PhD program starts with nutrition and is much more. They know 90% of permanent change comes from the mind, and they work on eliminating reasons you gained weight in the first place. There are no shortcuts, no pills, no injections, just solid science, science-based nutrition, and behavior change. If you're ready to lose weight for, I think, the last time, call 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900 to get started. Or online at myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. Just make the appointment for your one-on-one consultation. Call today, 864-644-1900. To sort of wrap up, what we really, only God knows, or anybody listening who can remember, what we have really worked at is the combination of two subjects. It's good to review.
I admire greatly about you. I've learned this from you. This is a very, very good talk show hosting and life trait, and you do this every Dennis and Julie.
It's very important. It's very important. It's important to me, not just to the listener. So we began with my deep appreciation for the fact that we have different natures. And then I gave the great example of my friend who couldn't, who he basically doesn't even hear classical music when it's played, and is a wonderful human being. And Schindler, who committed adultery regularly and then saves 1,000 Jews. So what? Oh, I'll give another example before I wrap up. See, here's a good example. People intuit that if we judge nothing, we have moral chaos.
Yes.
And that's correct.
Yes.
On the other hand,
if we judge everything.
Well, no. If we judge everything and if we judge wrong. For example, I said it from the beginning when it came out what Donald Trump had said years earlier in private to a guy, that if you're wealthy and famous, you can grab women in their private parts. He never said he did, by the way. It's a lie that he said he does. But he said you could, and he's probably right. Women want, you acknowledge it, okay, and even if you didn't. It's a really
sad reality.
Okay, yes, sad or not, it is what it is, yes, okay? Women are as turned on by wealth and fame and power as men are by beauty. Okay, that's the truth. That's the way it works.
It's so true.
Yes, to deny it is to live in make-believe, la la land. So the issue there is not that people judged, it's that they judged wrong. Who cares what people say privately?
Yeah.
It's what they say publicly and what they do, privately or publicly, what they do. If everyone listening, if everything you ever said privately were played for the world, you would look disgusting. Yeah. And by the way, there has to be a way. The human being is a pressure cooker. Private conversation is a way to release that pressure. Say whatever the hell you want. You're talking to pillow talk with your husband or wife, or friend talk, over a drink. That's fine. And
oftentimes, it's wildly exaggerated.
Yes,
wildly
that's
exaggerated.
Correct. Yes.
I mean, when you're upset at your boss or you're upset at your spouse,
right? Yeah,
you go,
right. I wish this guy were strung up by his balls. Exactly.
And it's like you're venting and you're fine.
That's right.
Afterwards.
Exactly.
I do it all the time with Sean.
We do it publicly with Sean.
I go
home
not even
and private.
I just yell about Sean.
Yeah.
I judge neither one of you, only God can judge.
His response was, he judges neither one of us, only God.
And Sean goes home to Fergus and yells about Dennis and Julie.
That's correct. Primarily Dennis.
No.
But anyway, this is really, really an urgent topic. That we got onto it is a blessing, but I just want everybody to know, no judgment is terrible. Too much judgment is terrible. Maimonides, the great Jewish philosopher in the 12th century, Maimonides, considered the greatest Jewish philosopher. And he had a beautiful term for how we should lead our lives. In Hebrew, it's Shvil HaZahav, the golden road. The golden road is the middle between extremes. And that is its own subject, because I have said now for years, humans are not middle of the roaders. The extreme is so tempting. It's what Jeremy Boring, whom I consider one of the finest human beings I know, who runs the Daily Wire, who is himself a committed Christian, and he said, in another context about fellow Christians, we're living in a purity death spiral. And he's so right.
In a way, that's woke. I mean, that's woke.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Christians who are actually quite woke in their way.
Yes, in their way. Yeah.
And there are a lot of Jews who are quite woke in their way. And there are a lot of secular people who are certainly woke in their way. It's a very astute comment he makes.
How to judge. It's a good one. It's a great subject. I hope this I'm sure it was. It's one of those times where I don't think we solved an issue.
But that's okay.
It is okay.
That's okay.
What we've done is clarified an issue.
Yes.
And that's just, to me, that's as important.
And sometimes what I find on Dennis and Julie, and increasingly on Timeless, is I want to lay all the arguments or all the sides out on the table and then come to a conclusion.
That's great.
Or come closer to a conclusion. And also, in life,
you will present the other side.
There's never one definitive. I mean, I always. I mean, this is true of my religious journey. I would call myself Catholic, but maybe this is heretical to say, but I'm always searching. I'm always. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I feel like I'm always on a journey of truth seeking.
I
really do.
So we need to address two things in this regard in the future. How do you search for a religion? Mm-hmm. What criteria should you use?
Yes. Oh boy, would this be a good subject?
Yes, it's a big
and something I've been really thinking about recently.
Write it down, because that is really worthy. I have thoughts on it that are very different from most people's.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure. No, seriously, I'm not saying that to be cute, as you would say.
Right.
I'm sure you do, and they may be quite different from mine.
Could well be. And the other is questioning your own religion.
Yes.
I was having a talk. You know this person, so I wouldn't say whom anyway.
Right.
But she's a wonderful human being. She's a deeply committed Christian, and she was just telling me, because she knows she could open up with me. Because I'm not Christian, so I'm certainly not going to be judging her on any issue vis-a-vis Christianity. And B, people know they could talk to me about anything. Men open up to me about, you can only imagine. And I think it's great. I love that people open up to me. Anyway, she said, I got to tell you, and she knows the Bible really well. She's a deeply evangelical Christian, and she said, "I don't think everything in the New Testament is divine. I don't think when Paul says X, Y, or Z, and I hope you here in Corinth are feeling well these days. I can't believe that those are God's words. Those are Paul's words." I was shocked to hear this from her. Shocked. But I have to admit, it opened up a respect, and I've always adored her, but even greater respect. There are times in my, I'll end with this. There is an issue in my, Torah commentary, Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, upon which the rest of the Bible, New and Old Testaments.
Incredible commentary. Everyone of any faith should read it.
Yes,
any faith.
And no faith.
And no faith, exactly. Well, any faith.
It's called the Rational Bible.
No faith falls in the category of any faith. The 4th volume is coming out this year. So anyway, I know.
Once you started praising it, I was.
I know. I knew this was happening. The evangelical who said that it's St. Paul's words.
Yes. Oh, yes. So I acknowledge when I'm right. In print, I say, I can't answer the problem of this verse. This verse presents a problem that I cannot solve, and I write it. I am not going to make up a nonsense explanation,
of course,
because I think it's divine writ.
Exactly. And what I love about your commentary, which is the basis of my, you have to understand, my slate was clean, and your Torah commentary, you brought me to God. You are the roots. You will always be the roots. You are. And one of the things I adore about your Torah commentary is that you talk about how the name Israel means to struggle with God. By the way, there are many people who I have told that to, and they don't know that.
I'm shocked by that.
They are religious people, and they don't know that, and they go, wow.
Yes.
They go, wow, that is
and
so...
it's not our definition. It says it in Hebrew. The text.
And so I actually think, and this is, oh boy, we've really gone on to another subject. So a few minutes ago, I said I would call myself Catholic. I have this internal battle. Should I say I am Catholic? Was that me watering down what I am?
That's right.
Was that me being just, was that me watering?
I would call myself is not the same as I am.
But the reason I say I would call myself Catholic is because I believe I am Catholic. But also, and maybe this is wrong of me, I don't know. I'm so earnestly, literally like live on the air trying to figure this out. I would call myself Catholic. I believe I am Catholic, but I am open to being wrong. I am open.
Well, you can, to be honest, you could do both. You could say I'm Catholic and I might be wrong. I am open to
struggling with God.
Yeah.
I think it's a lifelong thing to struggle with
totally
God. And I'm not the type of person who, or maybe I am, who's going to bop into like a Protestant church and then a Catholic church and then a synagogue like on my Sunday. I want to go to Mass. I want to be a Catholic. But also, if I discover something that leads me in a different way, I don't believe in being dogmatic. And this is said with complete respect to people of all faiths, truly. I know, I don't judge people for being dogmatic about in a way, that's actually easier and more principled because you go by a set of principles and you live by them. But for me, and this is part of my on-air life, like I really am, and all these people are too, of course, but I really am a truth seeker. And I just want to discover the truth.
That is true about
and
you.
I believe Catholicism is the truth. I just want to say I believe Catholicism is the truth at this point in my life. And by the way, with I know we're really going on here, but the Jews are the chosen people. God established a covenant with the Jews. I don't believe it is a part of my Catholic faith for you to become a Catholic. I believe you're a Jew. And the Jew, that's for another time. But my point is,
yep.
I am a truth seeker. I want to discover the truth, and I'm okay with maybe being wrong or maybe changing.
I have a Catholic I want you to meet.
It's not a satisfying Dennis and Julie note to end on, but you were saying that this episode, we didn't maybe come to a conclusion. But what I'm trying to say is that life is a constant exploration. And I hope you find this podcast to be that too.
And just to delay the end.
Even more, Sean's please.
I want to even just offer a caveat on that one. It is a constant exploration, but it doesn't mean that there aren't some basic truths.
Absolutely.
There are evils, there are goods.
Yes.
And we can't go, well, it's too complex.
Exactly.
Some things are not complex.
That's right.
And with that, thank you.
Like it's not complex to hold open the door. We need to revive that as something that is not that complex. It's a universal culture.
To say the Holocaust and communism were evil.
That's right.
That's not complex.
Boy, I mean, people are going to be writing a lot of things from this one. We talked about my cigarellos.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to charge
men and
them.
Women, Hugh Hefner, God.
Oh, we did a lot.
Hollywood agents, Catholicism and Jewry. Yeah, you can write to me about any and all of it at julie@julie-hartman.com. Truly, I love hearing from you. It's one of the great honors and joys of doing this.
Yeah.
And you can reach me too on Instagram at Julie R. Hartman, on Twitter at Julie R. Hartman, Dennis at The Dennis Prager, and at Dennis Prager on Twitter. The Dennis Prager is Instagram. And we'll see you every Sunday right here on this YouTube channel for Dennis and Julie at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. Shalom.
Bye.